There was a big segment on Radio Scotland this morning, which I've missed most of it, so I'm listening to it for the first time myself. On Kay Adams' show, there's a big... the UN has brought out some information saying that, hey, a plant-based diet might be good for the environment. So they're talking about that on BBC Radio Scotland. So let's listen to this together. Let's see what they say and what they come out. All I've heard so far is the bit at the start where it's just kind of the news report. So listen to the news report. While that's happening, I'm doing some work at the side. So if my face freezes or anything, it's because my computer is doing intensive editing at the same time. So I've also got a little bit of the side here. So I'm thinking, with it being the BBC, there's usually, they have to get two sides of every story. So even though the story is plant-based diet is good for the environment, for some reason the BBC always need to have two sides of the coin. And so we're going to need to have somebody who is like, no, burning fossil fuel is great and cows are fine. And they'll have to balance that with somebody on the crazy level of veganism. So hold on, wait, we'll put this. So we'll put, I suspect on the show they'll have maybe like a farmer or a butcher who thinks, let's just say, no problem with it. Maybe play the victim. Maybe they'll say that they've had death threats. Let's say death threats. God. What else? So on one side, I've had death threats. Then they'll probably go, veganism is good for the environment. We'll have somebody saying, what would the farmer say? Not enough food for people. That's what would that be? So they're like, hey, if everyone went vegan, there wouldn't be enough food for people. So that's a good one. What else might they have? Just an environmental. Global warming is a hoax. Okay, so that's. God, why is my typing terrible this morning? Then on the other side, they'll have a vegan, probably milk is rape. They'll probably say they're not having children because, children are bad for the environment. So it'll be like extreme veganism, saying shouldn't have children, milk is rape. And what else could they say? Maybe it's somebody who adopt chickens. What else do we have in the farmer hoax? Come on, let's think of things. You can put it in the comments if I was doing this live. There's something there. So adopt chickens. I'm thinking there might be somebody in the middle. There might be the well-intended posh person who will be like, backyard chickens. We will come out with that. What else would it say? And yes, but I only have local, organic, free range something there. Okay, so that's some of the chat I think is going to be in this. So let's listen to this. I'm going to be editing at the side. Let's see what this has got to say.
We'll look at our website, look at social media, and we'll give up-to-minute updates on progress for that for our customers.
UN experts say turning towards a plant-based diet can help in the battle against climate change. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report says current levels of over-consuming meat and dairy in the West are damaging the planet. The BBC's environment analyst Roger Harben spoke to us earlier from Geneva.
The scientists here, they're not asking people to go vegetarian, even if they were allowed to ask. That's not what they're saying. The message I think they would want people to take away from this is that the more you can move yourself away from beef and dairy and lamb, the better you can do for climate change. So it doesn't mean going vegan or vegetarian necessarily, but having a meat-free day a week or 2 meat-free days a week.
to fulfil.
Okay, so that's the news story. Let's hear what Kay Adams has to say about that.
Today, which concludes that in order to arrest climate change, we need to eat less meat and dairy. But I want to know how that is impacting on you. So give us a call. Let's speak to Robert McDonald, who is a farmer at Granton Farm.
Brilliant, I've got the farmer. So this is the farmer. I'm also thinking he might say almond milk bad for environment. Yeah, he probably might come out with something like, yeah, but almonds pesticide. Oh, small animals in crops, something like that. Okay.
And also the National Farmers Union. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning.
Good morning. Do you
National
accept
Farmers
this, that we
Union.
should be moving to a more plant-based diet?
No, it's
No.
absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
What? So this UN report's rubbish?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, not all farmers are in the raising, feeding, and slaughtering business. There's a lot of farmers that are in the potatoes and broccoli and spinach business. So the man of the National Farmers Union straight away, it's all rubbish. So all of that stuff from the World Health, no, not even the World Health Organization. So the World Health Organization has said that red meats and processed meats are classified as a class 2 carcinogen, which I think is at the same level of like smoking, as in there's a very high chance that it contributes to people developing cancers. But this is the UN, so not the World Health Organization. This is the UN just saying, actually, if we cut it down, it would help the environment. And a farmer says, no, that's rubbish. So who should we trust here? Scientists or a farmer who likes milking cows? Who's got the most to win here or the most to lose here? Oh, I wonder. Anyway, let's listen.
There is so much conflicting evidence out there. The latest report out of Oxford University has said that methane is not a climate change gas and has no effect on the climate, so therefore animals are not having a detrimental effect on...
What? Gonna have to Google that one myself. University of Cambridge, benefits of an immediate reduction in methane and blah 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 peaking. Yeah, so there's no climate change benefits of reducing methane emissions. Feedback loop, Cambridge University. Time is no longer on our side. I think that farmer, climate effect and atmospheric methane, maybe that's different. Let's hear. I'll have a quick read of this. This one doesn't really work. This is talking about going from natural gas to burning coal instead. So that's not quite the same thing that we're looking at. Yeah, no. So they're saying actually. So this is so well done, farmer. Your very first thing that you had to support yourself there. Just a quick check of that is saying no. We need to reduce it. It will massively affect climate change. Okay, so good job there, farmer. So. Starting off well, farmer comes out with, surprise, surprise, bullshit.
Climate change.
Well, I mean, it's very difficult. We've talked a lot about climate change in recent times, and there's an awful lot of research out there. The consensus, Robert, would seem to be that there is an issue because methane is apparently very effective at retaining heat, and that would be its particular problem. And if the population continues to increase the way that it is, and more people on the planet are going to meet, which is apparently happening in China, we just can't sustain it. And that would appear to be the consensus.
Kate came out with a good response there. So like, okay, so you think that that bit of science that you might have heard wrongly, that doesn't go with the consensus of all that of all the science, and with the growing population on this planet. And the more requirements of people wanting to have a meat-based diet, probably not the best. I'll be interested to see how the farmer can refute that.
Whether or not you agree with that or disagree with that, if more people get behind this and say, right, okay, I'm going to go plant-based or eat less meat and dairy, what impact would that have on you and your fellow meat and fairy dharmers? That was a very bad spoonerism, wasn't it? Meat and dairy farmers. Or fairy dharmers is quite nice, too. Isn't it?
Well, it depends on your point of view. But
How very dare you?
No, I mean, the fact of the matter is that if we go to a plant-based diet, the world isn't fit to grow enough food.
Oh, I had that one. Not enough food for people. Yes, there's a good one. Okay, another fallacy going on there. So he said if the world went vegan, there wouldn't be enough food to feed the world. Well, yes, there is. There's currently we currently make enough crops. One of the big problems just now, we just do monocropping because the cattle that we feed is mostly just needing kind of high protein plant food, which is from soy being the highest protein plant food that they can easily grow, and is fairly resistant to or can be grown all over the place. And we can diversify some of the monocropping that we do. That's not a great thing. But to say that there's not enough food for people in the world, well, currently we're feeding there's 7 billion people on the planet. We're feeding 20 billion animals, which we then eat those animals every year. Possibly even higher numbers than that if you count in the fish. Then it goes into the trillions. So great. Second point that the farmers come out with, again, been proven wrong. Shall I Google it? At the moment it's saying yes. So the professor of medicine at Harvard University, for the good one, says we could eliminate the worst cases of world hunger today with about 40 million tons of food. Yeah, at the moment, 760 tons of food is fed to animals. So, looks like we could pretty so well done, farmer. You've I hate it when people fact check you, don't you?
And I'll take Scotland because I'm more au fait with that. 85% of the ground is less favoured areas. It's not suitable for growing crops. The only thing it's suitable for is for growing grass and for grazing animals on that grass. Now, what happens is that these animals, they eat the grass then grows, and in growing, it sequestrates more carbon from the air, taking...
Sequestrates? Hold on. I'm going to have to Google that one. How do you pronounce... how do I spell it? S-E-Q-U... Sequestrate. Ugh! Come on, Google.
Sequestered. Sequestered. Sequestration.
Sequestration, yeah. No, what did he call it?
Therefore, helping
Sequestration.
stop and arrest climate change. Now, that's the fact as I see it, and I think it's basically common sense. It all stems back to the Paris Agreement, where it was all to working on the debit side and all the carbon that the animals were accruing and expelling in their lifetime, but there was no word of the carbon that was being sequestrated by the grass that they were eating.
Yeah.
So
maybe that is how you pronounce it.
That's the way that I look at it.
Sure, I guess it's just whether or not we can isolate Scotland in that way when we're clearly facing a global situation, and that different parts of the world have very, very different farming methods which may not be quite as beneficial. But
Okay, so I would actually say the farmer came along with a good point there. A good point for a British person arguing on that one there. So the fact is, a lot of our land is not good for potentially growing crops. A lot of our land is only good for growing bits of grass. Certainly parts of Scotland are fantastic for growing all types of crops, like the Fife Basin is one of the most fertile farming areas in the country, possibly in Europe. But a lot of it is also just like heather and moss in some of it, so that it doesn't really grow anything. But is that because people haven't tried to farm on it? Maybe they put some. Maybe just people just haven't tried. I don't know. But so I'm not a scientist in that one. So I would say that was actually probably a good argument that you had there. However, trying to expand out the land usage of one country, Scotland, and broadening that out over the world population and the world's food intake, I don't know if that really works. Because again, this is the UN talking about the world reducing its meat consumption, then talking about Scotland, and it's not quite, you're what's that? That's like something. I don't know. There's an analogy I haven't thought of because I'm doing this live. But yeah, Kate pulled him up on that one as well. So well done, Kate, for saying, yeah, that's great for talking about Scotland, but we're talking about the world. And again, the UK imports a lot of meat. A lot of the lamb comes from New Zealand. Lots of the salmon comes from Canada. A lot of the fish isn't actually from our waters. Our prawns, lots of like prawns and shrimp and all that, are actually farmed in Scotland waters, then shipped to Thailand or somewhere in Indonesia or something like that, deshelled, and then shipped back to us. So it's like, if you want to save the environment and you're a big, was it prawn cocktail lover or something like that, maybe try and get like, even if you say, oh, they are local prawns, it's like, yeah, but they've been shipped all the way around the world about 5 times just to get their shells taken off them, because that somehow is more financially efficient than just having them done in Scotland. Anyway, so yeah, Kate pulled them up on that one. Good point.
From your own point of view, Robert, I mean, have you changed your diet at all?
No, I see no need to. And in fact...
How much meat and dairy do you eat? I mean, do you eat meat and dairy every day?
Of course,
do,
because but I also eat vegetables. It's all about a balanced diet. To go back to generations when it was meat and 3 veg was the staple.
Again, from my knowledge of, he's talking about, go back generations, it was meat and 3 veg. Okay, from my family's growing up and experience there, even just talking about not my parents but my grandparents' generation, meat and 3 veg, 2 veg, whatever. It wasn't like a burger for lunch, a cheeseburger for lunch, mince meat spaghetti for dinner, and a pint of milk on your. Maybe they might have had milk on their breakfast cereal every morning, but it was usually like a tea in the morning with a dash of milk. Maybe a cheese sandwich for lunch, and if it was meat for dinner time, it was like a sliver. It was a slice of beef, which was meant to last them a week and a family a week. So it's like maybe a slice. There you go. Maybe a slice of lamb, and the rest was all like potatoes and Brussels sprouts. Our idea of balance is not quite the same as what it was a couple of generations ago, and certainly not in any idea of balance for the environment there. We eat meat in almost every meal that we have. And
that, taken in moderation, is the perfect diet.
Which we don't do.
We're not looking for the problems that's associated with vegan and vegetarian diets are well known. I had a friend a friend's daughter in the other day who had gone vegan. She was having to eat all these supplements to bring her body back into balance. She was feeling terrible. She was suffering from a lot of ill health, and she was considering going back to dairy.
I love that one. Okay, so it's come up with two things which were false. So the what was it? The Cambridge study. He also said that there's not enough food in the world, and then the brilliant. How do I spell anecdote? Anecdote, just one N. Anecdote of I know someone who was ill. Boom. Yes. So therefore, everything about veganism has to be wrong. Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. Super.
So you're not convinced either of the kind of health benefits of a plant-based diet, Robert. You still very much feel meat and dairy has to be a central part of a healthy diet. Yeah. Robert, listen, so do stay with us. My favourite fairy Dharma. And let's just get some other thoughts in. 08085 92 95 00.
Okay, so she's going to get some other thoughts in. I'm expecting there may be a vegan that's called in. What else would again, they're going to go for the, like, if somebody says, yeah, I've been vegan for a wee while, that won't be interesting radio. So I'm thinking they're going to go for somebody who is hardcore vegan for, let's say, 20 years. Maybe cured himself of every illness ever. Milk is rape, and he's not having children, and they adopt chickens. Okay, let's see where this goes.
Is the number. We've got Jane in Forest. Hi there, Jane.
Oh, hi, good morning.
Good morning to you. Are you convinced of the merits of going more plant-based?
It really depends. It's such a complex subject, Kay, and it's often being presented very simplistically and dichotomized on the way the media and the government speak to us. So if you say to people, eat less meat, often what happens is that people then eat OPP, which is what we call in the sustainability movement other people's protein. So if you're eating lots of soya-based things like tofu, then that will be grown on prime land in poor countries where people would have traditionally grown their own food, and then if they grow a lot of soya to come over here for vegans and vegetarians to eat here, then they have to go into the food economy themselves, the global food economy, and they can't afford to buy decent food for themselves. So it's not a simplistic.
What's that? That is other people's protein. OPP. Not heard that phrase before, but we could say OPF, other people's fat, because that goes down the avocados kill locals. So if you've ever heard the people saying, well, avocados are supporting the Mexican drug cartel because, and local people that lived off avocados, and what's the other one? Quinoa as well. Avocados kill, and quinoa? Quinua? Close enough, OA. So that's that argument going in there. But other OPP, other people's protein. That is not necessarily an argument against veganism. That is an argument against aspects of modern industrial globalization, financial industries, and markets. You know, you don't have to be vegan to eat avocados. You don't have to be vegan to eat tofu. Well, like, kind of have to, because nobody would eat tofu if they weren't. It's the worst thing ever. But yeah, come on, let's talk about sweet potatoes. Best things ever. Sweet potato to everything. I think there should be more sweet potatoes and potatoes. Just yeah, that's all we really need, and some peas. Anyway, okay. So this woman sounds quite the posh, well-intended person. So I think I was got it on there. Middle of the person. So she's not the hardcore vegan. She's in the middle.
Because either or in that way, and it's more about what you're eating comes from. So, for example, I know people who say, "Oh, let's trap and eat grey squirrels." Are not very tasty, but you can make a good stew out of them because grey squirrels are harming the habitat and the livelihood of red squirrels. Or if you're in Scotland, let's eat lots of venison because there's far too many deer on the land, and the deer on the land are stopping the forest regenerating. So it's a really intricate subject.
Ooh, deer. I've argued this one myself. I did a video, I can't remember if I actually put it up, a long time ago, before I was militant vegan, that I am just now, where I went around Sainsbury's and I was taking a video of locally produced animal meats, and it was like Scottish venison, wild Scottish venison and wild Scottish salmon and stuff like that. And I was making the argument, it's like the environmental impact of having wild venison versus bananas from Colombia and oranges from Nicaragua and blah 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 blah. It's like, if you're being vegan for the environmental aspects, you have to be able to admit that you can be even more environmentally friendly by not following potentially of a non-vegan diet, but it would have to require you to have locally sourced, wild caught, unprocessed. So like the as I said about the prawns or something. So they're not being sent over to the other side of the world and coming back. Potential meats going on there. So the deer, that is an aspect. However, again, we're not talking about the tiny section in a shop in a supermarket where it's like wild Scottish local venison burgers. We're talking about the rows of chicken drumsticks, chicken nuggets, chicken burgers, chicken. You're just like, and it's like chicken from everywhere. And then on the other side, it's like beef, minced beef, cheap beef, expensive beef, organic beef, beef, and it's just clearly just farmed all over the world. So yeah, as a point, I'm almost kind of like, yeah, environmentally, locally sequestered deer and grey squirrels, not vegan, but potentially environmental. So yeah, fair point actually on that one. Give her that. She gets passed.
Of what you eat and where it comes from.
So what do you live by then? What's your consumption?
Oh, it's incredibly varied. It depends what season it is, what's going on. I've got a friend who occasionally picks up roadkill and then he gives me some beautiful pieces of meat from that. I like to eat meat. I think our bodies...
Brilliant. Roadkill. Brilliant. I eat meat, but I'm so righteous. I only eat roadkill and in-season, organic, locally caught, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, that's bravo for you. You're great. We can't feed the nation their meat-craving desires on roadkill unless we're literally putting farms in the middle of motorways. It's like, and I think possibly the most amount of roadkill are probably people on the road. So let's maybe not go cannibal on their ass. But okay, yeah. So she sounds like she's almost backyard chickens, organic, free range, locally sourced, in season, roadkill. Top chat there.
Some people's bodies benefit from it. Some people can manage on a vegan diet, but I crave a piece of red meat from time to time, and I try to get some locally sourced venison if I can afford it.
Brilliant.
So it's not the meat then, Jane. I mean, you still see benefits apart from the fact that you just like it, which is, part of the main reason that we should be choosing our food. It's not whether or not you should have meat, but it's the kind of meat that you should have.
Yes, it's where it comes from and what's happening to the land and the ecology where it's produced. Obviously, the factory-produced meat where the animals have the most disgusting time and it's full of antibiotics and, it's not healthy meat. Obviously, that kind of farming of animals we need to get away from. But here in Scotland...
So this is the well-sounding person that wants to sound good. We need to get away from that. However... that is the most efficient. That is the most cost-effective, efficient way of getting meat into people. So this is the thing, like bad-mouthing factory farms while being from a very privileged background, and it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite work. You're either... because, like, if you really need to be like, everyone needs to cut down their meat because we cannot... have wild-caught, locally sourced varieties of meat all around the world. If everyone's wanting to have cheeseburgers from McDonald's in China, then we're going to have cattle in massive factory farms with piles of antibiotics, piles of growth hormones, piles of possibly disease as well. So coming from that's a real I'm only eating organic. Just like that's not an argument for or against veganism. That's just you being almost virtue signaling and saying, look how rich I am. Oh, I'm so rich, I only have local organic stuff. That's not helping either the environment, the meat desire crisis. That's probably the best word we could use. Meat desire crisis. It's not meat requirement. It's people just desire to have a meat heavy diet, and also the price issues. So yeah, that's great that we can have wild caught venison, but when it costs 5 times more than a factory produced pig, you're going to have more people buying factory produced pigs. So well done. You're rich and from a very privileged background.
They make very good use of land that wouldn't otherwise work for agriculture by having outdoor grazing animals.
Right, okay. I mean, have you been carried along at all by the plant-based movement, if you like? Because we are seeing and hearing about it so much more, and certainly in some of, well, I would say most of our major supermarkets now have a section that's kind of called something plant-based like, isn't it? I mean, they're really kind of going for it.
Yes. Well, it depends what plant it is and where it's grown and what impact that plant growth has on the economy and the livelihoods of the people in the countries where it's being grown.
Avocados,
Because, if we want to eat a plant-based diet here, then for 4 months of the year we'll be having swedes and turnips, and that's not going to be nutritious enough. And then
But again, we're in a global economic marketplace. So yeah, if you want to be granted, if you want to be the most environmentally friendly, eat potatoes and swedes and turnips or something. But that's not our issue at the moment. Transporting tomatoes from Spain isn't as environmentally detrimental as factory farming 1 billion chickens in the country every year.
Come the springtime, you can harvest nettles. I harvest nettles out of the wood near I live, and I make nettle soup with that, which is very nutritious. But you've got to have the time and the inclination to do things like.
Oh my God! Have you heard anything so middle class? I harvest nettle soup. I go scavenging for nettle soup. Don't you know? Wow, that's pretty middle class there. Great work, well done.
Like that.
Yeah, God.
Really representing the populace there.
Oh yeah, interesting. Jane, thanks. We'll just get some other thoughts this morning from people as to how they are.
Good morning.
Good morning. Are you changing your diet?
A long time ago, I've been vegetarian for
Right.
8 years.
Brilliant. Okay, so this has to be the vegan. So this one, rabid dog. I've just put wild dog in background. You can tell she's going to be the vegetarian because she clearly hasn't bothered training her pets. Barking in the background. Let's listen.
And I've been vegan about 20.
Right. Okay. And what pushed you in that direction?
Was I bang on? I got bang on. 20 years vegan.
Right.
When I
Okay.
found out what was happening in the slaughterhouses, and I just couldn't live with it.
Right. And so the climate change discussion, is that part of your thinking now, or really it's about the treatment of animals?
It was a treatment of animals when I was little, because I didn't know about climate change then. Nobody really did then. And it's just my lifestyle, just how I live and how I've always eaten, and it's the norm. And now, of course, the climate thing, it's obvious. If you're going to feed a great big heavy cow the vegetables, it'd be a lot cheaper environmentally to feed a few people the vegetables rather than a big cow.
Yeah, cut out the middle cow, as we say.
Yeah. So it kind of, I know we don't have 4 stomachs, but it kind of doesn't add up the way we do it if there's limited resources. And I'm all for eating locally and seasonally as well, because you can buy avocados and be vegetarian, or you could live on vodka and be vegan. And
Indeed.
it's not,
Indeed.
it's
Now
not
you're
healthy
talking.
or good. Yeah, gluten-free vegan diet vodka. But you could. So it's how you do it as well. It's knowing a little bit about what to eat and what not to eat. I have just had my breakfast, which is oatmeal grown in Scotland. I soak it overnight, I cook it up, and I put some oat milk in it, which is grown in Scotland as well. And that keeps me going for hours, I tell you.
And you don't think, from a health perspective, you miss meat and dairy?
No, well, no, not at all. Even my dogs, I've got a couple of chihuahuas, they do get tiny bits of meat, but very little. They have their porridge in the evening, and they are 14 and 12, and the Betsy's are in Great Neck, and she knows that I give them vegetables and stuff, you know.
So very rarely they get meat. Gosh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, they go nuts for kale snacks and things. It's crazy. It's just we've got this concept, they need, and I get so frustrated in the supermarkets, because sometimes you do need tins and things now and again, and there's so few vegetarian or vegan options. I think they actually really love certain things, and it's like they love a bit of apple, you know. You've got to be careful what you do, that you're not giving them plants that are poisonous to them, because there are things they can't eat that we can eat. But I mean,
my chihuahuas go mad for kale snacks. Well, I've never heard that one before, Patricia. I mean, Robert, you were saying that you didn't feel that a diet that didn't have meat and dairy in it could be healthy. Patricia has been...
I'm 64 this
She's
year.
64.
Well done, Patricia.
So over chihuahuas, Robert.
So Patricia sounds actually like a non-crazy vegan, apart from feeding her dogs. Potentially a vegan diet, but no, she's saying she still gives them a little bit of meat here and there. So, and she's saying she's been totally healthy, and the dogs are healthy. Well done, Patricia. You came over normal, not crazy, and it sounded good. Well done, and didn't come up with any lies or fake statistics like the farmer, which we're about to hear from again. It sounds like.
No,
yeah, well, I would say that that's going close to animal cruelty, depriving the dogs of their meat, because naturally the dogs, they're carnivores who would require meat for the strength of the bones. I would ask what supplements she's also giving the dogs to enable them to live healthily. You know, and this is what it's all about.
I love this about the supplements. I don't know anybody that doesn't take supplements. Certainly my parents are a fantastic example of that. They aren't following any sort of vegan diet, and the amount of supplements they need to do for stuff like vitamin B12 and all the other injections that they have to take. Okay, they're old, so it's that kind of stuff. But yeah, I grew up as a kid where in the morning you'd go down, you'd have your breakfast cereal, and you'd have a multivitamin every day. It's just a thing to make sure you weren't kind of running out of vitamins. But yeah, so yeah, that whole, you must have to take supplements. I don't see that's a bad thing. That's just a thing that people do.
They're 12 and 14.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking what supplements she's also giving them, because they wouldn't live healthily without having meat in the diet.
Are they on supplements, Patricia?
They do get a little bit of salmon oil.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Well, you see, this is the thing. You can't, to my mind, and from what I've learned, you can't live healthily on a purely plant-based diet without having some meat-based protein in it to supply your essential vitamins.
Okay. Well. Yes, does a plant-based diet work for you? Is it something that you have recently adopted, and how are you finding it? Have you accepted the arguments of the environmentalists who say that this is the way to go? The report published today by the UN comes to a fairly strong conclusion that we need to be eating less meat and dairy. Not necessarily exclusively plant-based, but moving towards a plant-based diet is the argument. Dominica Piaseca is with us from the Vegan Society. Good morning to you, Dominica.
Okay, Dominica, no relation, obviously. So representative from the Vegan Society makes me think this person is going to be the whole, the whole shouldn't have children, cows are rape, no, milk is rape, cheese is death. What else are they going to say? Everything causes cancer, and shouldn't be allowed pets. She's probably going to be against pets as well. Anyway, let's hear.
Morning, Kay.
Good morning. Robert, as the chairman of the National Farmers Union, has got concerns. He's got concerns about the science of this and the advice that has been given, and also about the health value of following a non-meat and dairy diet. He says you can't really do it without supplements.
Well, what I would say is I'm more inclined to believe bodies like the United Nations than someone, from the National Farmers Union who obviously has economic interests at heart. What I would say is that our bodies need specific nutrients rather than ingredients. So we need protein, we not necessarily need meat, we need calcium, not dairy, and we can get everything on a vegan diet. According to the British Dietetic Association, which is the leading authority here in the UK on nutrition, a plant-based diet is suitable for people at any age and any life stage, including infancy, childhood, and pregnancy. So if these are the statements released by the experts, that obviously is telling us that a vegan diet there's plenty of people thriving on it. So it's perfectly suitable as long as it's obviously well planned, but that goes for any diet. Obviously, whether you're vegan or not, you have to make sure that you are eating the right foods. But a well-planned vegan diet is suitable for everybody, and there's nothing to worry about there.
I mean, you said
I think he might be just
well-planned vegan diet. I mean,
yeah, she's talking. Yeah, she was quite. Dominica was quite firm on the well-planned vegan diet, which I think is a good thing to be firm on. So now we're just saying a vegan diet. Again, a lot of vegans will say it's not about the diet, it's about the environment, it's about the animals. Certainly what this argument has been about. Because, as the previous person said, you can just drink vodka and be vegan. So I suspect the farmer will come at that about well-planned aspect.
It was Jane who came on earlier, who still does eat meat. She loves meat, though she's very selective about what she eats, and she's very aware of where it might come from. She feels that it's just too simplistic to say, you've got to be plant-based. Because, you look at the planet, you look at the way that certain produce is farmed in other parts of the world, and it could have avocados is one that we talk a lot about now, that apparently the farming processes aren't particularly beneficial either for local populations or indeed for the land, and yet we love them, we can't get enough of them. That when you live in this global market, just to say go plant-based is too simplistic, and there may be unintended negative consequences of adopting that.
Fair dues.
Yes, I agree, although it has to be recognized that animal-based foods, so meat, dairy and eggs, they are the most planet-damaging foods. So we have seen so much evidence time and time again coming out from all the various different bodies saying that we need to lower our meat consumption. And they are saying that because lowering meat consumption is more manageable for people. But actually the ideal goal is to be plant-based. Like you mentioned before.
So you would get rid of the meat industry, you would get rid of the dairy industry.
Yes, because that's what the animals deserve. They don't deserve to be farmed in a horrible way and eaten by people. Of course, it will take a certain amount of time for that to happen. But I think we are slowly coming around to the idea that we don't need meat, dairy or eggs to be healthy, and we don't need to put animals through all these horrible things, and we don't need to be damaging the planet.
So what are Robert and his farming colleagues going to do then?
Well, we've actually worked with farmers at the Vegan Society, and we helped them to transition into plant-based farming. So we worked with a former dairy and beef farmer last year, and he donated 75 of his cows to a vegan sanctuary, and now he's growing vegetables on his vegan organic farm. So, of course, farmers can retrain, or they can look at different forms of farming. There is help available from the Vegan Society, and we are actually working with the government as well to urge them to provide such help to farmers. And this argument isn't used for anything else. For example, when we are telling people to don't smoke cigarettes, no one's saying, what about tobacco farmers? Times are moving, times are changing, and people
But
need
you
to
would
adapt to those changing times.
you would put meat and dairy in the same category as tobacco?
Well, they are recognized, meat is recognized as a carcinogen by the World Health Organization, so I think we are slowly moving towards this solution. But I would also say is, for example, other things like typewriters are not necessary anymore. So I'm just trying to make the point that the times are moving, and we need to get rid of the things that we don't need anymore and replace them with more sustainable and healthier alternatives that don't harm any animals.
Okay, well, I'm sure Robert's going to have a lot to say about that.
Ooh, again, what could Robert, the man from the Farmers Association, argue with that? Like, she came across not as a crazy vegan either. She came out with some good facts and even support for farmers who want to transition to potentially more profitable farming thing. And granted, she said last year we went with one farmer who's done this and that. Maybe if this interview had been done a year ago, when they hadn't done that, she'd be a bit more stuck on that question. But as I say, things are changing, and yeah, sustainability aspect that she really pushed there as well. Okay, I suspect Kay, or the person that checks the calls before they come through, is desperately searching for a crazy vegan to come on soon. But so far, the two female vegan contributors there have come across pretty well. Like that one from the Vegan Society, brilliant answers. Well done.
That will come right back to him after we have caught up with the travel. Let's get back to our conversation about whether or not you are adopting a plant-based diet, whether you are accepting the science here that the climate needs us to eat less meat and less dairy. We were just speaking to Dominika Piasecka there from the Vegan Society. As far as she's concerned, we want to move to a position where we don't eat any meat and we don't eat any dairy. She says that it's perfectly feasible to be entirely healthy on a diet without any of those elements to it, and she likened the meat and dairy industries to tobacco industries, really, something that we shouldn't really be questioning, or we won't be questioning in the future, because they have no benefit. Robert MacDonald, chairman of the National Farmers Union, how do you respond to that?
Well, what she's saying is actually dangerous. If there's people out there that are weak-minded enough to listen to what she's saying, particularly parents with young children who put them onto a vegan diet, they're risking their lives. There's been numerous stories in the papers over the last few months of people who have tried to rear their children on vegan diets. In extreme cases, the children have died, and in many cases...
Okay, so here is using... so there's a real risk to life by doing a vegan diet. So that's why I think the woman Dominika was very clear on well-planned or well-balanced, or balanced vegan diet, or a well-planned vegan diet. And the farmer here is going to come out with the media stories of crazy parents that are like fruitarians and just letting their kids eat bananas only, or afraid to let them even drink water because there's fluoride in it or something like that. Yeah, there's going to be crazy people that really should have had a license to be allowed to have children. But he's using anecdotes, and extreme cases are not good arguments against the general point, kind of thing.
The children have been taken away from them,
yeah,
because they are not getting the correct
Well, Robert, yes, and I mean, I think people will be aware of these stories coming up from time to time. I mean, just to bring Dominica in again, and you two should have a conversation about this, but Dominica, I do notice that you always say a well-planned vegan diet, and I think those are the key words. And
Me and Kate are like on point here, so it sounds like I should be doing the radio shows. I really should be.
Because when we say a vegan diet, it's too broad brush, doesn't it? Isn't it? I mean, you need to make sure that any diet, whatever elements are in it, is nutritious. I mean, funnily enough, we're going to be speaking later on this morning about a diet, as in a weight loss diet, that is apparently been adopted by Beyonce, and it is labelled plant-based, but when you look into it, there's really very little to it in terms of nutrition. So we have to be careful. We have to be careful about this. But, I mean, do you both have to be careful, Robert and Dominica? You're coming from very different sides of the argument here. I mean, Dominica, absolutely avowed supporter and advocate of a vegan diet. Robert, as a chairman of the National Farmers Union, clearly you're supportive of the meat and dairy industry. Do you both need to give a little bit here, maybe?
I think absolutely you need to be careful whatever diet you're on, because all diets need to be well planned, and that goes without saying. And I would say there are 15,000 cases of malnutrition every year, and the media purposely picks the vegan ones just because they make the headlines. So actually people like Robert, they contribute to this scaremongering of this, vegan diet implosion or something on children. But it's actually perfectly possible for us to be thriving on a healthy vegan diet.
Yeah, but equally, Dominica, you were talking about the maltreatment of animals, and Robert, I'm sure you would advance the case very passionately that your animals are not maltreated.
Absolutely. I mean, if Dominica was to put in the time and effort that I do to looking after our animals, she might actually change her mind.
I would like to say that we are sure that farmers, they're not abusing those animals on purpose. But I would like to ask Robert, how do you kill an animal in a nice way? Explain to the listeners, how do you kill an animal? Because I don't think that's a nice part of the process.
No, but there's some things in life that aren't nice. There's various. Alzheimer's is not nice. There is various.
Killing sheep, cows, pigs, and chickens. Oh, that's not nice. But Alzheimer's, that's not nice. How did he put those two together? It's like, killing my neighbour's dog, yeah, it's not nice. Standing on a piece of Lego, also not nice. So, sometimes things in life, not nice. But that's brilliant. Well done, farm. The National Farmers Union or Association or whatever it is really need to get somebody with some better arguments here. Like, Alzheimer's isn't nice. Killing cows isn't nice. Sometimes things in life aren't nice. Brilliant, great argument. Yeah, so let's just keep doing things which are horrible.
Other things that aren't nice in life.
Raising animals for meat is not necessary.
It is necessary because we have to have that protein. It is, and I mean
we can get it from other sources.
We cannot get it from other sources.
We can get it from other sources. It may not be as profitable for you if we get it from other sources, but we absolutely can.
From beans, pigs, chickpeas.
No, if you want to ruin the planet properly, then you go over to a completely plant-based diet, because
animal agriculture is ruining the planet. It's the number one cause of climate change. How many reports do we need for people to wake up? We are destroying the planet because of our greed, eating animal protein.
Well, I don't know if we've got consensus on it being the number one reason for destroying the planet, Dominica. Clearly, as a spokesperson for the Vegan Society, that's your belief. The stuff that we do have consensus on, I don't think that is necessarily one of them. Let's bring in Alec and get his thoughts, and we've got Bill in Glasgow. Hi, Alec. Are you another farmer?
Yes, I'm a dairy farmer.
Okay.
I feel that at the moment the whole programme is being hijacked at the moment by veganism or the dogma that's involved in it, and really the discussion to...
That's playing the victim card. The show has been hijacked. No, hijacked. Yeah. Show's been hijacked. I wanted to talk about how great my dairy is, not about how bad it is. Yeah, even though that's kind of what the UN has come out with, but
was about saving the planet, and I do think that there's a massive amount of science that's being missed out at the moment because of the emotion in what people like Dominique feel they want to brand dairy farming or cattle farming or whatever type of farming.
Sure. Well, Alec, just to go back to it, I mean, the reason we've decided to talk about this today is that the UN has published a report, and they can.
yeah, Kate's kind of calling it. So another farmer coming in going, I'm a victim. You're not talking about how great my dairy is for the environment. You're just saying it's bad. Well, that's what the story's about because the UN has said that. Again. The farmers which call into the show really, A, don't seem to have researched enough to fight any of their arguments. B, the research that they have done has been wrong. And their arguments are just so weak. It's, again, if you're not vegan and you hear these arguments, you have to be exceptionally thick to agree with the farmers on all these because it's like you're fighting a tide here and you're just losing every time.
Include that, you know.
But also you need to look at where the sources of that are from. And this is old story and old news. We have a cycle of use of carbon in farming in terms of that the grass grows, the crops grow, and the cycle of carbon is used up. When it's cyclical, there's no addition added on. Now then you bring in methane, and methane is the one that the vegans love to blow it. It sounds a bad thing, methane. But again, it's got a very short life and is reabsorbed back into the ground very quickly within a 10-year cycle. Carbon's more difficult, that's for sure. That's for the lifetime. And once it's up in the air, it doesn't come back out. And the science of it all is that...
What? Just... Oh, farmers! Farmers! Okay, I thought the farmers would know this one. Plants? What do plants do? They breathe in, they suck in something dioxide. So they bring that in from the air. What is that something dioxide? Oh, carbon dioxide. Yeah, so wait, if plants bring in carbon dioxide, and this farmer just said, plants don't do that. Can we... Wow! Unless I missed something, but that was exceptional. Let's just hear that again.
It's the one that the vegans love to blow it. It sounds a bad thing, methane. But again, it's got a very short life and is reabsorbed back into the ground very quickly within a 10-year cycle. Carbon's more difficult, that's for sure. That's for the lifetime. And once it's up in the air, it doesn't come back out. And
once it's in the air, it doesn't come back out. Carbon. Okay, got you, buddy.
The science of it all is that as long as we grow grass and grow the plants, livestock farming actually is economically with carbon. And the misnomer and the nonsense that's come out of how it all works has been hijacked by vegans because of their wish on their comment about the cruelty to animals. I'm horrified when I hear it, and it's so dishonest for them to come out with these sorts of lines. To compare us with the tobacco business. I'm sorry, we are not killing people here. Tobacco did, and it was a large money-making business. Farming is not particularly profitable, but we've worked bloody hard to supply food to the human chain. Now,
he's getting a bit emotional here. So I get what he's coming at here. He thinks that we don't do that. However, let's just have a little look. Okay, there's a good one here. The Independent put out an article last year, 2017, leading causes of death. I think this is just for the UK. I'm going to say it's just for the UK. And it's an interesting little infographic here. The causes of death. Heart and circulatory disorders. Cancer is another big one. So again, red meat and processed meat have been linked or have been indicated as a class 2 carcinogen. So, okay. Respiratory disorders, so that's breathing, so that's emphysema and pneumonia and lung cancer. I suppose that'd come under cancer. Then what's this? Nervous system disorders, digestive disorders, kidneys, infections, non-transport accidents, diabetes, goes on, and then it gets more stuff. So the big ones: heart, cancer, breathing, nervous system. Interesting. And then here it says, the leading causes of death. Cancer. No, that's what I've just read. Leading risks leading to death is quite a good one. So high blood pressure. That's stress, obviously. Next one is smoking. Then the next one, high cholesterol. Again, cholesterol if you consume cholesterol, it's from animal products. You can't get cholesterol from plant products. You can get saturated fat, you can get monounsaturated, polyunsaturated, all that kind of stuff, but you can't get cholesterol. That's quite interesting. So high cholesterol and obesity, again, meat with its high fat content, probably pretty high in the calorie stakes. Not a lot of people getting obese on edamame beans and rice and corn and soy sauce, Not a lot of obese people there. Sumo wrestlers, maybe, whatever. But again, we have a very high meat dependency society. Obesity, okay, maybe not. I didn't see this one. I think this one. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one is low fruits and vegetables. Brilliant. Alcohol is even less effective than low fruits and vegetables. Yeah, if I can find the link to that one there. So although that farmer was like, it's like, we're not causing death, there are aspects of the food that you make for people can be contributing to it. Yeah, smoking's the second worst. But I wonder how many of those would be slightly reduced if we took out beef and high-fat chicken and all that stuff. Interesting.
There's another factor involved in what nutrients the animal waste produces in terms of growing crops economically. We're not using natural or artificial fertilizers to grow our crops. It's a cycle. It works like that. And if people can understand that, then you can understand why we are going to be carbon neutral within probably 10 or 15 years. We're making big steps already in that way.
Yeah, I mean, Alec, this is a very
carbon scored.
This is a very divisive issue. There are people on all sides of this, and I mean, there are not just two sides of this, who've got very strong views. I totally get that. I just need to reiterate for everyone, the reason that we have decided to talk about this is because of the publication of a UN report in which they conclude that the meat and dairy industries are a major contributor to climate change, and they believe it would be beneficial for the environment for us to move to a more plant-based diet, i.e. eating less meat and less dairy. They're not suggesting that people cut it out altogether. But on a global level, Alec, on a global level, because obviously the farming processes that exist in Scotland aren't necessarily mirrored across the world, and the population trends that exist in Scotland aren't necessarily mirrored across the world. On a global level, they feel it would be better if we all ate less meat and less dairy.
Yeah, so that's perfect. So that goes under the farmer. I look after my animals. This show has been hijacked, so that's I'm a victim blaming, and what's that one? Our farming practice is healthy. I don't do. Yeah, they really need a farmer that has like a massive dairy farm where all the cows are kept in those tiny little crates, or what's that one they've seen where it's the pigs? They're like in cages. They're effectively what was that? Pigs in cages on the ground with their little babies suckling from them, and they're just made to just lie there or something. We need those farmers on telling us about it.
Let's follow it, and I'll answer that in the simple question that if we had the ability to grow product that humans can eat and thrive on in this country, why would you stop doing it? Why did we then go to the South American countries and pull in all their soya, or the African countries?
Or why would we go to New Zealand and get all their lamb? And why would we go to the Canada to get their salmon? And why would we go? I think chickens. I think we're okay with chickens over here. But yeah, there's a lot of beef that I'm seeing that's from France as well. Yeah, and most of the burgers in all the like Tesco stores. There was the horse meat scandal because the beef for the really cheap, crappy burgers that we were getting in like Tesco's and Asda, they tested it for DNA and they're like, yes, it's got horse in it. They're like, horse burgers? Excuse me, I don't remember going for a horse burger. They're like, yeah, it's because we got it from France and they eat horses or something like that, and they just gotta throw it all in and see how it goes. Yeah. So again, it's like, yeah, your argument's pretty weak there.
Why we're going to starve their people?
Yeah, but equally, Alec, and I'm just chewing the cud with you here. I'm not taking a position. I mean, if in Scotland, we had Scottish agricultural farming methods with regard to dairy and meat, and we only ate Scottish meat and we only drank Scottish milk and we were in this self-contained bubble, we may be having a different conversation. But I mean, if you go into your local supermarket, you will see products from all across the world, meat and dairy and indeed other plant-based products from all across the world. So it's very difficult to isolate us.
You missed the point I made there just now, that if we have the ability to grow it in this country and do it carbon neutrally, and not harm the environment as we're doing it, which I believe we're getting very close to. If we can still do that, why stop it happening? Or why change people's diet to go on to products that have to be imported, that use fuel miles, transport miles to get to this country? Why would you do that? I don't understand the logic behind it, and I know...
Because often chicken or meat or different forms of meat from other parts of the world are cheaper. They appear in our supermarket more cheaply than the stuff that is homegrown, and for loads of people who are on a strict budget, they go for the cheapest cut, because we do live in this interconnected world.
Totally accept that, but climate change is going to cost the Western countries. Simple as that. If you want to have no GHGs in future, who's going to pay for that? That's if there's a cost in it, and to deny that would be reckless.
Well, let's Alex, stay there. I mean, absolutely. Delighted to have you on the show and delighted to have you represent your point of view. Let's just get some other points of view and we'll come back to you. We've got Ailey in Edinburgh. Good morning, Ailey.
Hi, good morning, Kay.
Good morning. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts were just some general points to start with, which is this overgeneralization that a plant-based diet is the healthiest diet in the world. There are lots of vegetarians and vegans.
Again, that's not what this article is about. It's not about being the healthiest diet in the world. It's about reducing our environmental impact. So straight off, this woman has come off with the wrong argument here.
That are healthy and an unhealthy diet. So it's about your attitude to food and the foods that you choose. I think that's the one point, is you can have a poor vegetarian diet or a poor meat diet. So I also wanted to make a couple of other points, which I think you've already said, which is, so I've been vegetarian for 30 years. I dip in and out of being vegan because a vegan diet makes me feel really, really good. So anyone out there that just wants to feel energy and vitality, that's why I do it. My original reason for becoming vegetarian all those years ago was a BSc crisis. And I thought, I was 17, and I'm not contributing to that. I am not buying meat that will cause this mass-produced factory farming of animals. And over the years, though, there wasn't organic meat available then. When I became vegetarian, the choice was only become vegetarian. So I've grown my boys, who are 17 and 15, as mostly vegetarian, and educated them as they started to go out on their own, decide what they want to eat for themselves, how to choose sustainably sourced, local, good quality meats that you know the animals are being well looked after, preferably organic, And you know what? They might make good shopping decisions, they might not. But for me, it's about education. There's
So your boys still eat meat? Yeah.
Only one of them does, and one of them doesn't. He will eat fish. The other one moved into eating meat, but he knows how to choose good quality meat from a good farm.
Right, but the issue for you is quality and an understanding of the various components of the diet and the nutritional values, rather than, you know, no meat, no dairy, or only plant-based, or whatever, sort of banning particular food groups.
Yeah, I think that's really extreme. Now, animal welfare is up there as one of my number one passions in life, so that's still really important as well. And I think we have to look for balance. So I've educated my family to say, right, if you're thinking about animal welfare and good quality nutrition for your body, not one or the other, but both, this is what I would choose. Now, you know, you take that learning, you go choose it. I don't eat meat, but I wanted them to be skilled and educated enough to make some good decisions. Now, I think back to my grandparents' day, there was far less meat eaten. Everybody was kind of a lot healthier than they seem to be today. So I think the less meat argument is important, and good quality meat. And I do think from a climate point of view, yes, of course, we can understand there are consequences on the climate. So if we reduce our harm, then we're taking positive steps forward to look after our planet and our health. The other thing that ticks me off a wee bit, though, Kate, can I just keep talking a minute? Which is, I've heard the lovely lady from the Vegan Association,
Dominica,
talk about the carcinogens in meat, and okay, there is evidence to do with that. But the scaremongering happens on both sides. You know, there's the vegan side using scaremongering, there's the farming side, and actually that's not a healthy way to educate us to have a balanced attitude about what's right for our health and well-being and our environment. It shouldn't be one or the other. So for me, I've been a vegetarian for 30 years and I got breast cancer last year. If you follow Bowel Babe on social media, she's been vegetarian for donkey's years as well. She has stage 4 bowel cancer. So we cannot make sweeping generalizations as if they apply to everybody, that one thing's bad and one thing's good. And I think if that the one message I can leave today is that there's a real danger in listening saying plant-based good, meat is bad. There's a whole lot more complexity in the middle. So my advice is eat the things that make you feel well and do what you can to protect your environment.
Whew. Whew. That was pretty hardcore there. Again, very much mirroring. Okay, mirroring my views of, veganism is great and all that kind of stuff, but let's not bullshit the story or expand the story, or by eating more potatoes, suddenly you reduce your chance of cancer by 1,000,000,000%. And giving the false hope of that it will cure you of things. Like, we've seen ones where like, I went totally fruitarian and I cured myself of terminal, incurable, stage 5 brain cancer. You're like, oh no. Or somebody going, I went on the carrot juice diet and I ate no meat and I cured myself of cancer again. You're just like, oh no. I mean, we have actual doctors going, no, there's been research on this and it accelerates cancer. Stop it. Again, I think there's a lot of vegans out there pumping out bold claims which can be detrimental to the vegan message by giving false hopes and also producing negativity towards the diet. If people go to that diet for these magical benefits but then they don't come to them, and then people can be regretful or irritated by the vegan diet and become anti-vegan almost. So yeah, that girl, 30 years, good points. Yeah, well done.
Well, Ailey, I'm so glad you phoned in. I mean, it's really nice to
even Kay's just like, oh, awesome points. Well done.
To hear you give that view. I mean, what I take from it is that we all need to educate ourselves about food, about what we are eating in terms of the impact it has on us as individuals and on the planet, and come to a kind of balanced conclusion on that. And I do think where we are just now, as you're right, is that we tend to have camps, and people set themselves up behind a camp, behind a flag, and that's what they will defend come what may, and that rarely gets you to a particularly enlightened place. Thanks very much, Hayley. We're going to come back to this right after this.
This summer, I'm taking you on a journey all over Planet Pop. Join me, Nicola Meehan, for favourites and rarities from round the corner and round the world.
At 9 on 92 to 95 FM, BBC Radio Scotland. Get in touch with BBC Radio Scotland.
This week we have midwife Leah simple answer, says David on Facebook. No, can he beat mince and tatties? Issues, do get in touch. Leah happy to take your calls, 08085 92 95 00, or indeed you can send her a text on 80295. Let's look at some of the messages you've been sending in about whether or not you are adopting a more plant-based diet. Simple answer, says David on Facebook. No, can he beat mince and tatties? Douglas says a well-planned vegan diet cannot happen without imported foodstuffs, so protecting the planet argument is right out of the window. Plus many vegan foods that I see in the supermarket are processed. Well, there's no doubt there is a big industry beginning to coalesce around the plant-based message. Not necessarily a bad thing. Sarah says, I'm trying to do at least one vegetarian dinner a week to get my kids into good habits for the future.
Wow. One vegetarian dinner a week. Wow. We're trying to do one vegetarian dinner a week. It's not even a vegan dinner, a vegetarian one. So, like, you could go get some vegan sausages. You can go get some vegan burgers. You go have a baked potato and put some olive oil on it. And if you want to go process, put on some vegan cheese. You can get vegan mayo, just covered in ketchup. You want what about a bowl of pasta with like some vegetable tomato sauce? Not that difficult. One vegetarian meal a week. Wow, you are going to save the environment there. Wow, it's amazing. So that's the level of meat dependency that we have in this country. I'm trying to do one vegetarian meal a week. Woo!
Is hard. And Joe says vegan for 3 years due to extremely high cholesterol, lost the excess weight, upset stomach's gone, look and feel healthier than I have ever been. Your farmer is talking rubbish. Well, I think we might have another farmer on the line. No, well, Andrew, a farming background. Good morning to you, Andrew.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning. So you're not a farmer, but you come from farming stock, is that right?
Involved in part-time farmer. My family farm in Aberdeenshire here, so, and I'm involved in the agricultural industry. First time I've phoned in, and I can sense so much emotion in the programme today, and rightly so. I suppose why I'm phoning is that, I suppose, firstly I'll say I've got nothing against vegans or vegetarians.
But
it's a free world, and everyone can do what they like. But what I do take offence at is the complete misinformation out there at the moment. Firstly, the United Nations, yes, there's a report there, but global agriculture has got so many extremes, and it depends on which part of the world you're speaking about. But to average it out, I think, is dangerous. I also think one fact is that as regards beef getting knocking at the moment, UK and European livestock's carbon footprint is 2.5 times lower than the global average. And that came from the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. So that's coming from the United Nations. So you can't class everything as one. The other thing I would suggest is that I have to take the BBC to task here. I think some of the misinformation from the BBC is shocking. If you go by the BBC calculators, it would suggest that 60% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the UK come from meat and dairy. And that's totally shocking. It's totally wrong. There's a 2018 report from the Department for Business and Energy, and it highlighted that agriculture is fifth in the contribution stakes for greenhouse gases in the UK. Number one is transport, 26%. Energy supply, 25%. Businesses, 17%. Residential, 14%. And I just think we need more facts before people go diving in.
Yeah, but I mean, Andrew, I get what you say, but the thing is, we are awash with facts, aren't we? We're at this particular stage in the discussion about climate change that it seems to have just kind of exploded onto the agenda in the last 6 months. Now, I know there'll be people out there saying, for God's sake, I've been banging on about this for 40 years. Absolutely accepted. But in terms of, absolutely at the heart of the national consciousness or the global consciousness, it seems to have happened in a relatively short time. So there's loads of facts out there. One of the problems, I suppose, is, what set of facts that you line up beside. And it's relatively easy to choose the facts that favour your point of view, regardless of which point of view you come from. But are we not in a position now that we have to say, all right, there is something absolutely seismic going on here. We all have to cool our jets a little bit, sit back and have a free, honest and collaborative discussion about a way forward, rather than, one group of people absolutely defending their position and another group of people absolutely defending their position. Don't we need to say, right, okay, let's talk about this?
Debate is a great thing, and it's always good to talk, as they say. And there's facts, there's also lies, damp lies and statistics. And I'll go back to the BBC there. The BBC calculator is horrendously misguided. And for anybody who's unsuspecting or just looking at information which is hugely wrong, they can be swayed the wrong reason. And doing things for the wrong reason. And I don't grudge anyone making a choice for the right reason, based on balanced facts and figures, but I do take offence that when people have been fed the wrong information. So,
yeah, I mean, I have to say, hands up, I don't know exactly what calculator that you're referring to, Andrew, and so I'm not in a position to comment on that one.
Yeah.
But if you have a problem with it, then you're absolutely free to declare that. I mean, what about you in terms of your own eating habits within your own family? Have you been influenced at all by this conversation? Not this conversation, but the conversation about eating less meat and dairy?
I think the whole population has been made aware that you eat a balanced diet. So I don't think we haven't cut down in meat at all, but you eat a balanced diet of meat, plenty of vegetables, fish. Everything is good for you, so you need a good balanced diet out there. So
everything is good for you. Yeah, till that's asbestos.
To suggest that they would go to the extreme of just eating plants, again, that's down to individuals, but to suggest that agriculture and eating meat is bad for the planet, and you go back to what Alex mentioned earlier, I think Robert mentioned as well, the fact that the Amazon rainforest is being cut down at a serious rate of knots at the moment, destroying a habitat, destroying the trees which actually soak up carbon dioxide, destroying.
I mean, Andrew, there are many factors.
Species.
There are many factors that contribute to climate change.
You can't have an extreme thing and blame it all on agriculture. Agriculture is getting knocked. But one thing I must suggest: if anyone wants to save the planet or do their bit for the planet, take one holiday less per year or take one flight less per year, and that will make a bigger impact than greenhouse gases.
And where do you get your information for that, Andrew?
It's just it's out there in the public domain,
Okay, so don't give up meat and dairy for your 3 meals a day. Just go on one less flight a year. That's all you need to do. Wow, we're gonna save the world, everyone. We're gonna save the world. I'm just gonna have one less holiday abroad a year. What if you don't do any holidays already? That's. I'm not gonna go vegan. I'm just gonna have one less airplane ride a year. That's all I need to do to be environmentally friendly. Yeah, brilliant. That's not the best.
Amount of greenhouse gases and.
But where?
off the computer and the press, like some of these other people are reading this extreme information from.
Yeah, well, I guess therein lies the problem, isn't it? We kind of choose the facts.
Transport's the number one contributor to greenhouse gases in the UK.
I'm not in a position to contradict you or back you up on that, Andrew, as to whether or not taking one flight less a year would make more of a difference than eating less meat and dairy. I do not know, and that's part of the problem in this whole conversation, I suppose. We've got Bill in Glasgow.
Right.
Hi, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're one of those extreme people that doesn't eat meat and dairy?
I haven't eaten meat since about 1977.
Oh.
I've been listening how, as you say, all these statistics can be manipulated. The previous caller there kept talking about agriculture, but the main greenhouse gas generator is the meat farming industry. And
he would, of course, take issue with you on that.
Of course, and I've been listening to him. But I've been listening to quite a lot of hysterical reaction to something which is quite a reasonable suggestion that as a planet, we consume less meat and produce less methane and less carbon and all the rest of it. And suddenly it's all about extremism and veganism and all that sort of stuff. One thing is for certain, vegetarians make by far the best lovers. Ask any rabbit.
Oh, God. But they don't make very good jokes, Bill.
Well, I'm kind of best, you know.
Why did you go vegan?
It's so long ago. I'm vegetarian.
Vegetarian, okay, right.
From time to time. But my diet is mostly vegan. But it was basically over a period of about 2 years, I found myself eating less and less meat until I lost the taste for meat altogether. And that's been a gradual, not an overnight sort of conversion. I meant that now the smell of bacon grilling I do not find in the least bit appetising.
Oh, well, once you've reached that stage, Bill, you know that you're absolutely a vegetarian for life. That bacon does nothing for you, because that's the one thing that kind of lapsed meat eaters tend to think, oh gosh, that's the one I would go for. Thanks very much. Spirited discussion here. Loads of comments coming in. We'll get through those after the news. That's just...
Cool, we'll leave it there. So that was their chat. If I can get the link to Kay's show, I'll put it down below. You might need to be in the UK and pay like a license or something for it, but yeah, there you go. Quite interesting. Farmers didn't do quite so well. Vegans did better in that argument. They didn't sound irate or as crazy as I thought they were going to be. The posh person in the middle, avocados and quinoa and grey squirrels and roadkill. Loving that chat. I'll have to add that to my expectations for future vegan conversations online. Okay, there you go. See you guys later. Bye.